Hi, my name is Bryn Rouse, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Moldova with Group 23 in 2009. And one of my most unforgettable memories as a Peace Corps volunteer was being dropped off at my host mother's apartment 3 days after arriving in the country, partly because it reflected a reoccurring theme that came up for me often as a volunteer. I remember that as I stepped out of the Peace Corps van in front of her apartment complex, the first thing my host mother did was run over to the van, pinch my arm, and tell our group leader that I was much, much too skinny. And this was a scenario that repeated itself very often for me as a volunteer, as I was frequently told how it was expected that Americans, ate at McDonald's for every meal, and we were always overweight. So they were often shocked in Moldova at how, skinny I was. So after my host mother had talked to the leader, she led me up to her apartment. And once we got inside, instead of unpacking or her showing me my room or kind of getting to know each other, my host mother, Tamara, whisked me off to a spare room in the house and pulled out a scale from the dresser and instructed me that I needed to stand on the scale. And at that point, didn't quite know what was going on. I barely spoke 2 words of Russian at that point. Spasiba, Я не знаю, Здравствуйте. That was about it at that point. But kind of from her pantomiming and gestures and pointing, I understood that her goal was to plump me up by at least 4 kilos. Four, she would point at the scale, 4 kilos that summer, before she would be satisfied to let me go on to my next host family. And the whole thing to me was just hysterical and hilarious. And of course, a totally different experience that one would have from being in America. So I have to say that entire summer, I have never eaten better than I have in my entire life. My host mother paid attention to everything that I loved to eat. For example, she saw me come home one day with an ice cream bar. And the next day I came home and she led me into the kitchen. She opened up the freezer. The entire thing was stocked with ice cream bars, packed. And she's like, "Yeah, these are all for you. I can't eat any. I'm too fat. You need to eat it all." So she was very conscious about making sure that I got what I wanted, and I got lots of it. So it was fabulous. And at the end of the summer, she took that scale back out, had me stand on it. Unfortunately for her, I gained only 2 kilos. About 4 pounds, so only half of what she wanted. She was a little bit disappointed. But I have to say it's one of my fondest memories of being in Moldova.